The body is working in harmony to let you know we want to heal this. That's why it's a trigger. You're supposed to feel it. And when you feel it, the intention is for you to learn how to navigate through it. It's for you to learn how it feels to your body. So if it comes up again, you know what to do to deal with it. If we can reframe the way we look at triggers, we can reposition our beliefs to align with your own greater good, your greatest, highest good, when you reposition the way that you look at triggers. If you only get rid of the negative emotion that comes up in your life, you will only learn how to cut people off. You will only learn how to get rid of things, never to heal. And what happens when you get rid of that negative emotion, you also cut off the growth that is intended to happen as an extension of the healing of that negative emotion. That's why it's a trigger.
Here we grow again, our hearts on the mend. What I want is what I want. Soft spaces.
Welcome to Softspaces Podcast, where I share a little bit of me to connect with a little bit of you so that we can create a community of wholeness together where unmuted, unfiltered, authentic voices can find healing to thrive in every area of our lives. My name's Yolanda Lewis, and I am your host. And today we're talking about triggers and how not to be afraid of them. Culturally, it's a norm to identify triggers, so things that make you feel a way. And you may not even know in the moment of a trigger what it's connected to, but you know it's a trigger because it makes you feel a way. It brings you to a place of rehearsed emotions. It brings you to a place of a bad memory. It brings you to a place of a bad experience. And in that second of trigger, we can feel like we need to get rid of it, when really it is our body's way to help us to know what still remains active in our nervous system, active in our body, active in our cells, active in the proteins in our bodies that are causing other things to manifest. So triggers are not a bad thing. What happens is people find it difficult to navigate through the triggers because they just don't have the tools. And so you've identified trigger, this is a trigger, I'm going to cut this off. And that is not the design of the body's function when triggers are happening to the emotions. Have you ever been in a situation where you're walking down the street or you're walking in the mall, or you're walking somewhere, and all of a sudden you get this whiff of a smell, and immediately you are back in your grandma's kitchen, sitting at the table, and you're back around loved ones, and you start to smile. Or you find yourself back in a situation that was severely traumatic, that hurt you, that made you feel a way, and you automatically, in this present moment, this might have happened years ago, it might have happened months ago, it might have happened weeks ago, but in this moment, this whiff, this smell brought back to your body a trigger that remembered, hey, we've been here before. And not only have we been here before, we still feel a way about it. Let me give it to you in another way. Have you ever been in a conversation where you're having a conversation and all of a sudden in that conversation, you almost black out in a sense of hearing what the other person is saying because you are already at the place like, yeah, that reminds me, they did this and said this and blah, and another thing. And that, in fact, you start going off on this tangent about a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of things that may be relative to the moment, or it may not. But either regard, it's a trigger to a memory of an emotion that is still unresolved in your subconscious. Does that sound familiar? If that sounds familiar to you, if you've been in those situations, there's a reason your body, your soul, together in harmony, is trying to let you know it wants to let go. It's trying to let you know that we don't want to carry this experience. When we stay in the place where the trigger never gets resolved, right? It gets cut off, and now, you thought you were done with it until a similar situation comes up and you feel that same emotion and you have that same rehearsed experience again that has nothing to do with the present moment, but everything to do with the memory of how you felt from a time that initiated this experience and is causing a trigger in your present day. Your body, in harmony with your soul and your subconscious, is trying to give it back to you so that you can resolve it. Resolving that trigger is not ignoring it. It's not throwing it in the trash. A lot of times we are programmed to believe that negative emotion is a bad thing. But negative emotion is a part of the human experience. Negative emotion is not to be shunned away, disappeared, like get rid of it, sweep it under the rug, or sweep it and put it in the trash. No, you're supposed to feel it. And when you feel it, the intention is for you to learn how to navigate through it. It's for you to learn how it feels to your body. So if it comes up again, you know what to do to deal with it. If you only get rid of the negative emotion that comes up in your life, you will only learn how to cut people off. You will only learn how to get rid of things, never to heal, but to navigate your life getting rid of things. And when you get rid of that negative emotion, you also cut off the growth that is intended to happen as an extension of the healing of that negative emotion. The other side is growth. The other side is a new experience. The other side is healing, even down to your molecular cellular structure and the proteins that are being curated and developed as you feel certain things. The body is working in harmony to let you know we want to heal this. That's why it's a trigger. If we can reframe the way we look at triggers, we can reposition our beliefs to align with your own greater good. Your greatest, highest good can align with your belief when you reposition the way that you look at triggers. So negative emotion is to be processed, not discarded. When you're processing negative emotion, you're feeling it. And this is why it becomes difficult. Because if you have told yourself the story that feeling negative emotion is harmful, feeling negative emotion brings more pain and is bad, you're going to rehearse that, and you're going to find yourself in a position where you don't release negative emotion. If you don't release negative emotion, you're going to find yourself feeling trapped in your own body, feeling like you're going over and over and over again in your mind certain experiences, feeling like every time you get into a relationship scenario, platonic, romantic, professional, you encounter the same experience. You're living in a cyclone of negativity because you won't allow it to process. You won't allow it to release. You won't allow yourself to grow. You won't give yourself permission to grow from feeling the negative experience. I remember the first time I started feeling. It happened when a girlfriend of mine passed away, and we had did some business together, and I met her through another friend, and she was an awesome, awesome person. I remember calling my mother to let her know that the woman had passed because my mother actually met her, and she reminded my mother of a friend of hers, and so she just adored this woman. I got off the phone with my mother after sharing with her that she's passed on, and like, wow, she was young and we had plans, and we were going to do more business together, and I was excited about it, but she's now, she had transitioned. And so I hung up the phone with my mom, and I'm rearranging the curtains in my living room because I'm just in reflection of like, wow, she's really not here anymore. It's sad. I wonder how her family's feeling. And the friend that introduced us, she was hurt so much by her passing. I was thinking about how can I be there for her through this experience? How can I support her? And as I'm readjusting my curtains, thinking about all these things, a tear dropped from my eye, but I didn't know it was a tear. I was like, oh my gosh, my face is wet. Why is my face wet? And I said, wow, Yolanda, you don't even recognize tears that were flowing out of you. Like, it wasn't a boo-hoo, oh, kind of cry. It was literally just my body releasing. I had no control over it. It was a negative emotion of sadness. You might interpret that as a negative emotion, sadness. Crying, you might interpret that as weakness. I do say sweat. Sweat's not an emotion, but I do say that sweat is weakness leaving the body. I think I got that from my time I served in the military. I think a drill sergeant said that during training, is weakness leaving the body. But in this case, when sadness is leaving the body, or even anger is leaving the body, we can find ourselves in a position where we don't recognize it if we're not used to feeling. If that part of our being is turned off because we just cut off all the triggers, we never grew from them, then you don't feel. And if you're not feeling, you're not alive. You are dead inside. A dead woman walking, a dead man walking, when you don't allow yourself to feel. So, how do we navigate through triggers? One of the ways you can navigate through a trigger is to let yourself feel it. Don't discard it. Don't rush it away. You feel that trigger. I am triggered. Acknowledging, feeling it, acknowledging it and feeling it. I'm going to call that all as one. You've identified, I'm feeling this trigger. I'm going to let it pass through me so I can then, in the second part, put a name to it. When you can attach nomenclature to the feeling that is triggering you, then you can identify what you need to do to handle it. For example, if you're in a conversation, you're triggered and you're angry, being able to say, I am livid right now. I'm livid right now. We put a name to the emotion of anger. We let ourselves feel it. We didn't cut it off and try to get off the phone or say mean things back to cover and mask the anger or to protect the emotion, because you may have learned that was a positive thing for you to do. You feel emotion and you protect your processing of the emotion by completely pushing away the other person, and in any way possible, in any way that you see fit to do so, you're going to push them away, meaning you're going to hang up the phone, meaning you're going to cuss them out, whatever will protect this in a way that will turn them off, shut them down. You're going to shut the other person down, turn them off so you can protect your emotion. You may or may not deal with it later, but it's yours to deal with it, so you're protecting it. But the outside, the mask of it, looks like rah, looks like aggression, looks like pushing people away. In that instance where we took the time to feel the trigger, we felt the emotion, identified it as anger, acknowledged that it was anger, then we put a name to it and called it livid. There's a level of this, right? You're that big mad, you big mad. You've identified now the nomenclature. The third part is to process. You see, there's no straight way path to processing emotion. Depending on the emotion, there's actually over 200 emotions. We only go through anger, sadness, happy, very basic, but there's actually 200 emotions that we can feel. Can you imagine if you put a name took the time to put a name to the emotion, what the process might look like for that, what that process might look like for you processing that trigger is you allowing yourself to cry. Even if you're mad, how complex, right? Where you're mad and you want to cry. Processing the emotion might put you in that complex place where the emotion is being released, that trigger is being processed. You can then determine what it's connected to in your subconscious that still needs healing. Is it a belief system that needs to be reframed? Is it an experience that you just never let go of? That you need to let go of because you can't change that it happened. In that processing, it's a journey, and it's an up, down, left, right kind of journey, but you'll know you're at the end of it when you can think of the experience that triggered your emotion and it doesn't make you feel away. That's how you know you've worked through the trigger. When you think about what triggered the emotion and it doesn't make you feel away. There's layers to that process. But you'll know you're at the end in that space. And of course, finally, you can breathe. Breath is very powerful in how it ignites and opens up the pineal gland in our body. And when that pineal gland is awakened through breath, you can see things in a new dimension. It opens up a third eye, opens up a new dimension of you being able to receive a download of thought so that you can transform. We breathe to create a transformation, change. That is the breath. At the end of every podcast, I invite you into the soft space where we can breathe. So welcome to the soft space. In our breath, we're going to take 2 breaths, 2 inhales, a hold, and an exhale. And when you exhale, you may find your body wants to release a sound. And if it does, let it. That's okay. Listen to the wisdom of your body and what it wants you to release and to adopt. If you find yourself in a place after our 2 breaths where you want to continue breathing, do that. Let your body immerse itself in the experience of the breath, opening up so that you can see clearer and heal deeper. So let's begin. Deep breath in through your nose. One more breath. And exhale. And as you exhale, you loosen your neck, you let your shoulders drop. You feel yourself on the floor or in the chair, wherever you are, in your car. If you're driving, of course, do not close your eyes. Keep your eyes open, but breathe. Let's do it again. Deep breath in through your nose. One more breath. And exhale. I want to thank you for sharing the soft space with me. If you feel you need to keep breathing, please do it. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next episode. Take care and God bless.